What is the worst thing to say on a first date? Not me, but my wife and I were having lunch near a college campus. We order and find a spot. There were two college kids sitting behind me. There wasn't a lot of patrons, so it wasn't as loud as it could be. With that being said, from the conversation they were having, we gathered it was a first date. Our food arrives and we start eating. Midway, I look at my wife and tell her I'm glad we are past all that awkwardness of figuring each other out. Hadn't have been 5 minutes, and I hear the guy telling his date that at night I have to play really sad music because I can only go to sleep if I cry. I tell you, my wife and I stopped mid-chew, wide-eyed stared at each other. I started to turn around to save him from digging deeper, but my wife grabbed my arm and shook her head no, then said she, "The date has this." What she saw that I didn't, was the young man's date was in the process of grabbing her purse and leaving. He sat there for about 5 minutes after and left. I looked at my wife and said, "He's probably going to sleep early tonight." I've heard a lot of crazy and bad stuff on first dates. One told me her boyfriend was in jail and she will be with him when he gets out and she doesn't want him to know that she's dating other people. But that wasn't the worst. Neither was the date that had 6 beers while we talked for a few hours and said it helped her anxiety. Alcoholic, red flag. The worst was someone that spent almost an entire hour telling me how unhappy she was with her life. I mean, her family made her unhappy, her job made her unhappy, her body made her unhappy, her baggage made her unhappy, even her car made her unhappy. She was looking for someone that would sign up to help her make it all better. I told her good luck and thank you for the time. It was the best learning experience I had on a first date. From an actual real blind date I was set up with, the guy decided to order himself a fancy meal and told me he was excited to try the lobster, because he's actually never had lobster before and he wants to be a little adventurous given the situation. This is fine. But once the lobster tail was delivered, he picked it up as though it were a sandwich and took a huge bite, shell and all. Then he turned to me and said, "Oh wow, delicious. It's crunchier than I expected." He proceeded to swallow and take a second bite, and then a third, all the while commenting on the incredible texture. He finished by washing down the whole lobster tail with a glass of water, which he took from the flower vase on the table. He did not get a second date. Old story I read somewhere. A military dude on a first date, or maybe second. Anyway, he noticed she had pepper spray on her keychain and he in a matter-of-fact tone just told her, "Oh, that spray is weak, you may want to get something stronger." Something to that effect, Ike. Been years anyway. Immediately he knew he fucked up. This bit of innocence to genuinely help her made him look like a creep. All from the look on her face. Now him being in the military requires him to have to get sprayed and deal with it. And he says they used all kinds and different brands. Oh, would be well and fine, had she known he was in the military. That story always makes me laugh. He did manage to get another date with her and explain the whole thing. She laughed and yay. No clue what happens after. She'll just have a salad and a water, waiter. So, what can I say about myself? I'm a consummate gentleman. I always ask a girl before I send a dick pic. So how about it? I have a bunch here I'd like to send right now. Oh, you'll change your mind later once I've got you to pity me. Just don't keep them on your phone. They sometimes get confused with CP. Now, I've just come out of a relationship with an older woman who was basically perfect, but don't worry, I've written down a lot of the things she did, so you won't be flying blind. It wasn't a romantic relationship, per se. It was my mother. She kicked me out of the house last week and I'm desperate for a place to stay. No, I'm not desperate for a shower. Why do you say that? I just said it's only been a week. Before our meals arrive, I do have to admit I've made a boom boom in my diaper and I can't replace it myself, so shall we adjourn to the baby changing room? Let's see if I can sue Koala Care again for making another changing station that can't carry me. And if you're really lucky, maybe someone might find an engagement ring tucked in there. God, I hope she doesn't use Reddit that much. I hadn't been partying and was working a lot more than usual at my 9 to 5 and side stuff. Girl I worked with agreed to go to a movie with me. Right before the date, my pothead friend convinced me to smoke BC. It's not that strong. Big mistake. Fast forward a couple hours. And I finally start to sober up. We meet at the theater and pick the movie, the most recent night at the museum, I think. We get the tickets, get settled in about 10 to 15 minutes, and I have to piss. On my way back, I forgot which screen number we had been seated in. Somehow I end up in the wrong one, even with the help of the usher. I didn't really know the timeline of these movies, I hadn't watched any up until that point, so I sit down and wait for her because she's not there. I remember watching an hour or longer of that movie, texting back and forth, causing more confusion. BC, she didn't remember what theater number we were in. I sense a kind of "if you're going to ditch me, at least do it right" vibe. By that point, I had officially dropped the ball. I remember being fist fucked by the universe for only wanting to take the edge off. She didn't talk to me much after that. TLDR, I got confused at the theater. BC, I was higher than giraffe pussy.